Boom! Boom! Remember back in the day when you used to work for that other ISO and all of their webinars were super boring? We don't do that here. Heck no! Welcome to Toolbox Tuesday, everybody. Good to see you on the call. Welcome to the month of July, and let me just get that clicked out of the way here. Boom! From 1990, the album was called The Razor's Edge, the band is AC/DC, and that was Thunderstruck, which of course is often played at your local bar, or sometimes it's played at a baseball game, and believe it or not, there are times where it's actually a wedding song for people up in northern Maine. But let's jump into today's session. Before we kick it off, I want to remind you that we do have more webinars coming up for the month of July. So next week on July 15th, if you got nothing going on, which you don't, you know you don't, come on down. We're going to do Coffee with Closers. Our CEO, Justin Bolrath, is going to give you the State of the Union within the first 20 minutes. And then after that, we're going to open it up to you so that we can hear what's happening out there in the field. Later on in the month of July, coming up on July 22nd, we're going to be doing yet another Toolbox Tuesday. During that session, we're going to be talking to our friend Khalil over at ISOQuote. Now, all of you should be using ISOQuote every single day to read your statements and create your proposals, but you know what? Sometimes you do get questions, and that's okay. Bring those questions on July 22nd, and we'll make sure that we get those answered during that ISO co-op session. Last but not least, July 29th. Good Lord, there was an extra Tuesday in the month of July. So what are we going to do? We're going to give you another Toolbox Tuesday. That's right. I am going to have my colleague John Marshall with me on the 29th, and we're going to give you some of the fresh picks from the Clover app marketplace, and we're going to give you yet another tool for your toolbox, which is going to be the visual reference guide. As always, if you do not see any of those invites on your calendar, good Lord, just reach out to us. We'll help you out. Sales@paycompass.com, sales@paycompass.com. Just send us a quick email saying, hey, I need invites on my calendar for July, and boom goes the dynamite. We'll get those sent over to you. Let me stop sharing my screen. There we go. And we're going to get today's session kicked off. As always, I've got some wonderful folks working behind the scenes so that we can make this happen. I've got producer Hind, who's going to be looking in the chat to make sure that we address all of your questions. Hind, happy Tuesday to you, my friend.
Happy Tuesday, Scott.
Good to see you on the call. Hello, good to see you on the call. And I also brought in a co-host today just for funsies. Yes, I did. You know him, you love him. Generally, he's our Clover expert, but you know what? Today he's going to be a co-host just because I'm feeling a little wacky. John Marshall, how are you today, my friend?
Good morning or good afternoon, wherever you may be.
There we go. And of course, I could not host a SwipeSimple session all by myself. Heck no, I had to bring in a couple of the experts from SwipeSimple so that we can drop some knowledge on you today, because man, oh man, we got two products we're going to drop on you today. You didn't see that coming, did you? Let's get them introduced. First, we're going to introduce Rinda. How are you today, my friend?
Doing really well. Thank you all for having us. You can't see it, but I'm wearing a Pay Compass State 48 shirt. I also have my speakers here below. Can't see it with the blur, but here supporting always.
Supporting State 48, we love it. And we also got, from SwipeSimple, Wally. Wally, how are you today, my friend?
I'm great. I really appreciate everyone joining today. Really looking forward to sharing some information about what we got going on and how we can help you guys out there.
We're looking forward to presenting all of this knowledge today to you, the audience. As always, we are recording the session, so when it's over, our fantastic marketing team, they're going to get that sent out via email. Generally, they get it sent out within 24 hours or so, so just give them a little bit of time so they can make some nice clean edits and get it off to you in your hands. And as always, we do want your questions. So we're going to go through some of the content, then we're going to break about 20-25 minutes in. And that's your opportunity to either come off mute or put your questions in the chat. We're going to make sure that we get those addressed. We've got our two experts on the call. Let's kick this party off. So, Rinda, Wally, SwipeSimple, we've been hearing about it for a long, long time. You guys have been a fantastic partner. However, probably one of the easiest things that we could say about SwipeSimple is that it could be broken down into three categories. So it can either be payments, or it can be terminal, or it can be register. Let's just kind of go through those very quickly. And then we're going to show everybody why they're here today. So I'm going to hand it off to one of you two Let's get it kicked off.
Wally, I'll let you.
Okay. Whew.
All right, fair enough. So, yeah, as Jeff touched on, we're going to go over a few different things today, especially two things to highlight. And again, as far as the overall programs, when we talk about the three different solutions, I guess, if you will, when we say register, one thing to just be really clear on is think of it more of like a light POS, not a traditional register setup, if you will. It's a software option that can work on terminal as well. So, well, obviously, we're going to go through our Gateway Mobile, our Tap to Pay on iPhone. We call, if you hear the term automatic adjustments, that's our dual pricing. And then really excited to fill you guys in on the appointment scheduling. We just recently rolled out, limited to a few partners, and you guys happen to be one of those partners.
Yeah. And Wally, since we have this content up here on the screen, shame on me. I've been a bad host. I'm going to make sure that, I go in the corner later on and think about what I did. We forgot to mention the promotion. What the heck is going on? SwipeSimple, you guys are doing a promotion for our sales agents. What's going on with that? What do you got?
Rinda, you want to go to the next slide here? All right. So yes, very excited to offer you guys, as of July 1st, all the way through the end of August, we are offering 2 months of waived Gateway and Mobile for all new merchants boarded. So there's absolutely no reason to not be excited about this and board those merchants.
Yeah, so look at that. And this promotion actually started at the very beginning of July, correct? And that's going to be running through August 31st. So everybody on the call, if ever there was a time to get in front of your merchant, talk about SwipeSimple, right now is the time, because what we're going to do is we're going to waive the fees over the next 2 months, from July all the way through the end of August. All you got to do is just talk to a merchant, get them signed up, and look at that. We're going to get those fees waived for your merchants. All right, let's jump into some of that content. Let's go over to that next slide real quick here, because this is where we get into the meat and the potatoes. There we go. So this is what I was alluding to at the very beginning of the call. It can be broken down into 3 categories, where we got payments, we got terminal, we got register. So why don't we just give the audience like a really quick overview of what we're referring to here.
Yes. So starting off with SwipeSimple Payments, this is actually the software package that you're going to be able to get for those waived fees, where we will be waiving those fees for the mobile and gateway. So what does that mean for your merchants? Your merchants can use SwipeSimple on their phone, on an iPad, tablet. They can also use it on their computer. That's where they're going to get 4 additional ways to take payments, whether it's through the virtual terminal, reoccurring payments, invoicing, and then also a hosted payments page. That's really important for your merchants. One, because we see that a lot more payment volume actually comes through those card not present features. So I do just want to highlight that as well. On top of that, for those merchants that are using the mobile app, your team boards through 5-Star Rapid Connect Nashville. We have great news, and we'll actually cover this in a little bit as well. But you now have the ability to do tap to pay on iPhone. So your merchants don't want this little card reader. I see John cheering. We're cheering over here too. This is huge for your merchants. We have a lot of merchants that don't want to use hardware. They're on the go. Hardware can just be another thing that they have to bring along to their appointments. We have tap to pay on iPhone available, and excited to walk you through that demo in a bit later on too. And then we have our smart terminal. We won't be showing it as much today, but again, you have this on the A920, A80. And then lastly, that's that light register, light POS option that Wally was referencing earlier, which you can use on either the Pack Series 8, a tablet, iPad as well. So with that, you're going to get item modifiers and item level taxes.
I was going to say, SwipeSimple, if nothing else, you guys have been kind of like the thought leaders in the industry, and for the most part, as far as the products that you are putting out. Historically, it's always been set up that payment device sitting on the counter, but you guys have always put the thought into, well, you know what? It's not always convenient to do stuff in person, and that's why I'm excited with some of these offerings that we're going to be diving into today. I'll hand it back over to you. Let's just kind of do a little bit more of a rollout here with some of your offerings.
Thank you. So with this, we're going to be sharing this deck with you already. Your team has these slides also, but if you want to take a further look into what each software package has to offer, this is going to be the slide for you. Really, you're going to see that breakdown of key features, such as the payments option has the B350 reader, tap to pay on iPhone, being able to save card information on file. Later on, we'll actually go into a little bit about SwipeSimple Appointments. That's that new product offering that Wally mentioned earlier. Really, really exciting for your merchants to be able to say, for you to be able to say to your merchants that we have a booking tool that is available.
Yeah, and a matter of fact, I think one of the things that we could share here also is that Pay Compass, we're actually one of the very first ones to kind of get the peek behind the curtain with appointments. Correct me if I'm wrong.
That is correct. So this is not available to all SwipeSimple merchants at this time. Eventually, we will roll it out, but this is something we are excited to have Pay Compass join us with this early access to SwipeSimple Appointments.
Yeah, and initially, folks, one of the things that you may not be aware of is that when we were putting this session together, the entire session, our mindset was tap to pay. We're going to talk about everything that tap to pay, and we will talk about it. But then Rinda and Wally, when we were doing like the final deck and everything else, they said, "Hey, we got something called SwipeSimple Appointments. It's ready to roll out today." And I was like, "Are you giving our audience a twofer?" And sure enough, we are. So, but we had no idea that this was even coming down the pike. You guys are going to get a look at it today, and like I said, it is ready for prime time. Added bonus, some information in Navigo too. So, why don't we keep it on? Go over to the next slide real quick. All right. So this is where we're going to start getting into part one of today's topic, being tap to pay. Correct?
Correct. So we'll be talking a little bit about mobile and gateway. Again, just a quick plug. This is what we're going to be waiving the software fees for up to 2 months for your merchants. So jumping in, tap to pay on iPhone. Scott, I know this is something that you're really excited for.
I am excited about it. If nothing else, I mean, I find this to be an absolute game changer in the industry. But I got to ask you the question, since I mentioned previously that SwipeSimple has always been the thought leaders in the industry, what would you say brought this about? What was the need for business owners to actually have this kind of a feature, tap to pay?
Yeah, so as we saw back in 2022, like when tap to pay on iPhone, Apple first brought this about, we immediately knew that this was something that we wanted to have on our roadmap. Why? Well, when we're thinking about our merchant base, you'll hear us reference a lot about, say, like field service technicians, on the go merchants, maybe like farmers markets, retail, restaurants as well. A lot of those merchants don't want to have to carry around their card reader. You have a lot of employees that are on the go. It's just another thing that they have to worry about for those technicians. So for us, it was a no-brainer when it came to bringing tap to pay on iPhone to SwipeSimple. It really just gives your merchants just another way to be able to accept payments and really leaning into making it simple and easy for your merchants. We want to make that experience all around just going to be easier. We don't want them to have to worry about whether they need to find that card reader as well. So yeah, excited to bring tap to pay.
Yeah, I was going to say, obviously for all of us looking at the screen right now, we can see the image where we've got the hand holding the iPhone, the person doing the tap to pay. I would say right out of the gate, probably the biggest benefit that I can identify is that we don't need additional equipment. In my opinion, huge benefits. So let me throw it back to the two of you, Wally and Rinda. What would you say are other benefits of having tap to pay set up for any one of these merchants that we're talking about?
Yeah, I mean, so obviously the hardware is by far the biggest piece, and the convenience. When you look at SwipeSimple's program and you compare it to maybe some others that you have experience with, you'll notice it's not just be able to take a payment. You can literally run your business from the mobile device with our software. So a lot more as far as text to pay and things of that nature, where you're on site, you're doing field service at someone's home. You can send that invoice, you can send a link to pay, you can do reoccurring billing. So it's really, the convenience is mind blowing. And really anything you can imagine that's a service at your house, whether it be a plumber, electrician, pest control, lawn service, irrigation service. It's really endless. And those are the type of people that, it's a fast paced, right? they got a whole list of appointments that day, and it's, you know, you're one of 10 maybe in that space. So for them to be able to handle everything right then and there and move on to their next customer, just huge to the merchant.
Yeah, and I was going to say, just to show you how sharp our agents are, I looked over in the chat. You can do card present transactions without having to have additional hardware. See, I told you, they're going to be on top of their game today, so you better watch out. They're going to be right on top of this today. All right, so contactless payments anywhere. No additional hardware. Talk to us about the privacy and the security that's built in, because, you know, obviously it's one of those things where, you know, as time goes on, there's bad actors out there. So what is it that actually makes the whole tap to pay environment secure?
Well, we really leverage, just so everyone is aware, more technical information. But we have to certify through Apple. Apple's very meticulous about everything that we've done. So on top of that, as mentioned on the screen, Apple doesn't store that card information on the iPhone or on Apple servers. In fact, every merchant that is using the tap to pay on iPhone actually has to have their own Apple ID, obviously on their iPhone, to be able to use it. So there's a lot of security measures that Apple takes to make sure that they're able to bring this about in terms of tap to pay on iPhone.
Yeah, and that's a really good point too, is that it's not storing the information directly onto the iPhone. So in order for this to work, the merchant has to have the SwipeSimple app downloaded onto the phone, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Now, is there any additional steps, you know, once they download the app, do they need to reach out to our support team? Like, what does that look like from that point of view when they download the app and they're ready to do tap to pay?
So when it comes to being able to use tap to pay, there's going to be an option on their end. I think in the settings where they'll have to connect to their Apple ID. Once they're able to connect, then they can use that here, and then they'll kind of walk through the steps. I'll walk you through it when we go through the demo of where to find that in the settings. In terms of the iPhone version that they'll need, it will be iOS 17.2 and above, or yeah, I believe it's 17.2 and above. And I love seeing all the comments in the chat too. On top of that, I don't think we've even mentioned this, Scott, but we are not
Go ahead.
charging your merchants extra for this feature, which is
What?
huge.
What?
Yes. Yes. So we're not charging your merchants extra. So that is a huge upside to you, because we know that there are other vendors that are charging extra, whether it's a monthly fee, reoccurring. So we do not charge you for tap to pay on iPhone. That is, and I see another question in here regarding, is there a demo of tap to pay available at this time? No, we do not have that as part of the demo environment. But great question.
All right, so Rinda, what I want to do is I want to make sure that we get this crystal clear for our entire audience, so this way we set the right expectations. So you mentioned it's got to be iOS 17.2. There's no charge to the merchant for doing tap to pay, but to be very specific, that merchant or our agents should be setting them up on SwipeSimple payments, correct?
Correct.
Register,
Yes.
not terminal, it's got to be payments. Go ahead.
You can technically still have them on the other products, as long as they're able to use their cell phone or their dashboard. I'm going to drop an article here in the chat as well, just so that way if you want any additional information on it, specific to like the specs and whatnot. And I believe, Scott, I think I answered all your questions.
Yeah, I was going to say, even if we have more questions in the chat, we're going to get to those in just a little bit too. So why don't we continue the momentum
Yeah.
on tap to pay, and then we'll take a little break, and then we'll jump into some of those questions. I told you they were going to be on fire today. I warned you.
They are on fire. We love to see this.
They do this every single session. I say, okay, kids, you know, we got to settle down and don't scare the guests. But they go, oh, heck no, we got questions. And they do it all the time, but we love them for it, though.
Awesome. Let's head into, we've already talked about a bit of the ideal merchants that are going to be a good fit for SwipeSimple, specifically thinking like the field service technicians, but other ones that would also work for SwipeSimple would be, say, housekeeping, landscaping, pool cleaning. I know Wally mentioned earlier about irrigation. So even thinking about just summer merchants, that would be a good fit with SwipeSimple. Anybody that has multiple technicians, service trucks as well, just because then they don't have to worry about having to order another card reader. And then lastly, we see a lot of folks using Tap to Pay on iPhone already with specialty retail, including food and beverage and open air environments as well.
Yeah, one of the things that I always want to call out here, when we go over to that third column for specialty retail, food and beverage, farmers markets, everybody, audience, pay attention to that. When you're talking to some of your retail merchants, when you're talking to some of your restaurants merchants, dive in, find out exactly, are you doing all of your processing on premises, or do you ever leave the premises? As an example, a restaurant might go to a chili cook-off happening downtown, and they want to sell some of their t-shirts and their swags. What an opportunity to say, great, you know what? I can get you set up on SwipeSimple, and you can utilize Tap to Pay. Farmers markets are huge, especially for a lot of those retail opportunities. If they are doing farmers markets, and if they need an efficient way to accept payment without having to take a whole bunch of equipment with them, this is also a really good opportunity for them as well. Didn't mean to hijack. I'll hand it back over to Rinda and Wally. Sorry about that. I'm so passionate about this. My God, we've been talking about this for weeks. Go ahead.
I know we've had a lot of conversations about how Tap to Pay on iPhone is going to be helpful for you all. So we're really excited to bring to that and also walk you through that demo in a bit too.
Yeah. All right.
So going into some of the newer features and enhancements that we've had, some of this may be review, but excited to also bring this back just so that you are aware of what's available specifically with that payment software package. So Invoices. Invoices is actually one of our top higher payment volume features that we have, and we're continuing to improve this over time, adding in new enhancements for your merchants, including we now have the ability to send out automated reminders. So this is something that actually came as a request from merchants and agents as well for our product. Merchants said that they needed to be able to automatically have those reminders. So just really making it an easy process for merchants when it comes to being able to manage those invoices.
I was going to say very quickly when I looked at that previous screen. So to be clear, merchant has the app on their phone. Not only can they do Tap to Pay, but through the power of the app, the invoices, the text to pay, automated reminders, just making it even easier for them, correct?
Yes. They no longer have to manually send out that invoice again. They can already have that scheduled to send out.
Just the fact that, Tap to Pay is a bonus, but the fact that there's so much that they can do within the app itself, that also brings the added bonus of that. So once again, didn't mean to hijack. Sorry, I'll hand it back over to you. Let's jump over to that next slide. Go ahead.
Awesome. Next up, we have customers on the mobile and gateway. I think what makes this really powerful is that with our CRM on both mobile gateway, you're able to see, yes, your merchants, customers' information, whether it's like the transactions, cards, but if you're using it on your phone, you can actually, if you have a technician that's out in the field, customers on mobile makes it really easy for that technician to be able to contact that customer, whether it's texting them saying, hi, I'm running 5 minutes late, or maybe you have a new technician out in the field that needs to have that address on file. They're easily able to go into their phone, look up that address. They can even navigate to that address on their phone as well. I'm so excited to walk you through that in a bit when we go through the customer section.
Yeah, I would say the customer piece is definitely huge, especially for a lot of those field service businesses that we were alluding to a little bit earlier. For some of those services where they have to do recurring billing, or they wind up doing frequent visits, whether it's a landscaper or possibly an exterminator. I mean, this is where the benefit comes in because they do have that entire customer list, and to your point, it's a fantastic CRM for them to utilize out in the field.
Yeah, and now on top of just like service providers, think about like personal trainers, coaches, any consultants, anyone that has to meet with clients on the go. This customer section is going to be really helpful for them, whether it's on the mobile app or on the payment gateway too.
And if you take a good look at the shape of me, you realize why I left out trainers and coaches, because I hear people use them, but not so.
Well, I'm excited because we'll talk a little bit more about coaches later on, coaches and trainers, traders too, as well. So let's jump in to level 2 and level 3 interchange qualification. So one of the beauties of SwipeSimple for our virtual terminal is that we offer level 2 and level 3. There's no added cost for being able to use this. Your merchants will have access to this. They do at the entrance some additional information. They will be prompted on the screen for that. So why is this important? Well, it helps your merchants with being able to save on those interchange costs as well. And next up, we'll go into the B350 card reader. So I'm sure, Scott, you're thinking right now, well, we just talked about tap to pay on iPhone. Why are we now talking about these card readers? So the reason why we're bringing this up, which one should you use? Should you use a card reader or a tap to pay on iPhone? Well, really, it's going to depend on what type of hardware that your merchant has. If they're an iPhone user, we recommend using tap to pay on iPhone because we don't need them to use that hardware anymore. But if they're an Android user, you can suggest that they have the B350 card reader. Quick things to note, this is not supported on tablets or iPads. Android support will be coming in 2026. Scott, I feel like you may have some questions.
Yeah, not so much that I have a question as much as I want to make sure that we do provide clarity to our audience. So audience, we don't want to muddy the water here. Tap to pay, available iPhones, 17.2 iOS system and up. But for those of you that have a merchant that's like, well, man, I don't have an iPhone, I've got an Android, or, my iPhone is still using version number 14 or whatever the case may be, not a problem at all. We can still set you up with SwipeSimple, but in those instances, we are going to set you up with a Bluetooth card reader. And just to make sure that we do emphasize what Rinda said, as far as using SwipeSimple, definitely in a mobile environment, iPads, it's a no-go. John Marshall, my co-host, my God, he's chomping at the bit. I see his hand is up. John, come off mute. What do you got, my man?
So, Scott, I don't want to have everybody overlook that bottom charging stand available. So in a brick and mortar retail environment, right, you can have this on the counter paired with your iPad as your light POS. And you can put it in a charging cradle with a wired cord so it doesn't walk off on its own and it stays powered up and charged all the time. So we've been talking a lot about mobile, but there's also a lot of great fits for SwipeSimple in store, particularly with those modifiers we talked about in the register version.
See, folks, I told you I needed a co-host this week, and there he is, John Marshall. Domo arigato, my man. Thank you. Good call out.
Yeah. So again, charging stands, and I've actually saw when I was living in Atlanta, I walked into a merchant's place and saw that they were using SwipeSimple, and that's exactly what they did. They had it was a salon. They had the charging stand connected, taped to the front with that card reader. So all the customers had to do was tap once they took that transaction. So super easy for them to do.
And I do believe we are at that point in time where we're going to take like a really quick break and we're going to do a Q&A. Look at that, right on time. So audience, you know what to do. We do this every single Toolbox Tuesday. If you have a question right now and you just want to come off mute, get your question out here in front of our two guest panelists, Rinda and Wally. In the meantime, I'm going to go through the chat real quick. We'll throw some questions out there to you. Audience, come off mute if you want to. Let's make sure we get your questions in. Let's see. Okay, here's a great question that was thrown out there. So what happens if tap to pay fails? Can they input the card number?
Absolutely.
Yes.
All right. So manual entry is supported. Could you give the date again with Android tap to pay features expected?
Yes, that will be sometime in early 2026. We're still working through tap to pay for the remainder of the processors for iPhone. Then Android will be here in 2026. We don't have specific quarters for 2026 at this time, though.
But it is going to be coming in 2026.
Yes.
So everybody, hang tight. All those Android merchants that you're currently working with, they will get it in 2026. We don't have a date, but SwipeSimple, once again, they're the thought leaders. I'm willing to bet they are going to get it out there in 2026. I am not seeing any other questions in the chat that have not been addressed. Audience, I'm going to throw it back out to you one more time. What questions do you have before we jump over into our next segment? Just come right off mute.
Scott, I got one thing to add. For those familiar with the PAX roadmap, our terminal solution currently works on the A920, the A80, the A920 Pro, but we will be supporting it as well on the A920 Max.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing that. Carol Steen, I see you came off mute. I bet you got a question, don't you?
I do have a question, thanks. I was going to ask, what about existing customers? Can we move them to this new version to where they have the options to have these features as well?
Are they an existing SwipeSimple merchant? Is that
Yes.
correct? Yes. So as long as they have the ability, if they have a newer iPhone, and I believe that I'm actually looking at that article, it's actually iOS 17.4 or higher. I'm not sure which specific iPhone that leads to, but as long as they're on a newer iPhone, they will be able to use the tap to pay on iPhone feature. They should have that already existing as long as they're on an iPhone.
Would they have to be reboarded though with 5-serve Rapid Connect Nashville?
If they're currently on another processor like TSYS, yes. But if they're currently using 5-serve Rapid Connect Nashville, then no.
That's what I needed. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Carol. Audience, I'll throw it out to you again one more time.
That's Mary. I
Hey,
had to
Mary.
pop in and out. And
Okay.
you did.
Oh, was there a question? I guess not.
Yes.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Oh, and we can hear you now. There we go, Mary. Go ahead.
Okay. Tip line and dual pricing. You did say, I'm not sure that it does cover both of those.
We do, yes, we do have that tip line too with dual pricing and dual pricing.
Okay, we got that question answered. Audience, one more time. Any questions? Just cover it off mute. All right, while waiting for the audience, I see another question did pop up into the chat. Can a merchant get a demo from SwipeSimple team? If yes, will one of your team members run a demo on behalf of one of our agents for a merchant?
So our team here at CardFlight, we typically don't do merchant-facing demos just because PayCompass does own that relationship. If there's any additional questions that you have as the agent for our team, we're happy to help though. But when it comes to like those merchant-facing demos, that we would lead on the PayCompass team.
Okay, and I do believe, folks, as we wrap up today's session, there is going to be one specific section here that's going to say, this is what we could do as far as a demo environment goes. So stay tuned for everybody. I promise you, we're going to get that information in front of you. So my gosh, Rinda, Wally, I thought we were done. I thought we were just going to talk tap to pay today. And then last week we get on a call and you were like, heck no, Scott, we got something brand spanking new called SwipeSimple Appointments. Come on, go to that next slide. Let's talk about this. Because I got super excited when you guys said this was ready for prime time. And audience, you better pay attention. And you better get your wheels turning, because I'm going to tell you right now, a lot of your merchants are going to benefit from this. Wally or Rinda, I don't know which one of you is taking the lead on appointments, but take it away. Talk to our audience. What's going on here?
Yeah, I can take that one. Thank yous. Yes, it is true. We did surprise Scott and the team in person when we mentioned, do we want to mention about SwipeSimple Appointments? And Scott was on screen. He goes, what? So that is true. Something that is available to your merchants now is they are able to sign up directly with CardFlight to be able to offer a booking tool. So why is this important? Well, your merchants now have the ability to be able to either book on their own website, or customers can go on to their said like URL and sign up for either appointments as well. They can also integrate this into either Google Calendar, Outlook, and there's a lot of flexibility in the appointment types. So one-to-one bookings. So think about if you have a salon that wants to be able to book either manicures, pedicures, but we also have group sessions. I think this is something that's actually really going to be helpful for, say, if you have like a yoga instructor, a personal fitness instructors, those coaches that we mentioned earlier, being able to have group sessions. So that's kind of what makes this SwipeSimple appointments a little more unique, and that you have that flexibility to really cater to what your merchant needs. So when it comes to the ideal merchant types, we have home services, healthcare, professional services, beauty and barber shops. Really, this is going to be a helpful tool for them because they're able to now book through their websites. And then we have some additional merchant types that would be a good fit. Again, mentioning more about the home services. So thinking about if you have any merchants with SwipeSimple already, those plumbers, electricians, HVAC technicians, they're going to be able to utilize this product for their booking tools as well.
Rinda, stop right there. Stop right there. Okay. I'm looking at the screen. We're talking about SwipeSimple appointments. Home services, plumbers, electricians, HVAC technicians, automotive, health and beauty, pet care. Wait a second. Didn't we just say that those are the verticals that would be a really good fit for Tap to Pay?
Yes. So all those merchants that we've been speaking about throughout this entire Toolbox Tuesday are also going to be good fits for SwipeSimple appointments as well.
Yeah, and I got to say, the reason why all of this clicked with me when we met and we were planning this session, Tap to Pay appointments. Take a look at the screen, everybody, okay? I mean, let's look at pet care, groomers, veterinarians. Think about what happened during COVID. Everything just kind of shut down. Everything started to become remote where, these veterinarians and groomers were actually going out to people's houses. So look at this. Now their customer base can book those appointments. Now their customer base can pay right on that iPhone with the Tap to Pay. So, friends, the reason I'm bringing this up is because I want you to seek out opportunities where you can get that twofer. You can have a conversation with a merchant that needs a solution like Tap to Pay and would benefit from having appointments. Co-host John Marshall, I'm going to kick it over to you, my man. I see your virtual hand is up. What do you got? No, you're on mute, my friend.
Never fails. A trick question for Wally, and that is, do I need to have SwipeSimple payments in order to get SwipeSimple appointments?
You do not. It is a standalone product. So obviously, if you're with SwipeSimple today and you want to do the appointments, great. If you are utilizing a different avenue and you want to utilize this as a standalone product, you absolutely can.
Awesome. And Scott, I think you mentioned it during one of our pre-calls that if I'm a salon and I already have a side terminal in use, I can still add the appointment functionality and blend with whatever you have. So this is not an all or nothing scenario.
Right. Now, one thing I want to make sure that we are very clear on, because you know what, agents, I love you to pieces, and I want to make sure that we set the right expectations with you. SwipeSimple Appointments does not have payments built in on the back end, correct? This is a scheduling tool to set up appointments. Wally and Rinda, can you correct me if I'm wrong on that?
No, you're absolutely correct on that. Don't know what the future holds. That very well could be different down the road, but as it stands today, that is not the case.
Yeah.
You are correct.
And audience, the reason why I'm calling this out is, once again, you all work very hard. You get out there every single day, you talk to a whole bunch of merchants just to get them to sign up with PayCompass. What I don't want, friends, is I don't want you to walk into a merchant and say, oh yeah, you could set up a calendar appointment and you could accept payment at the same time. Let's make sure we're clear on that. You can set them up with SwipeSimple Appointments. They can have a booking calendar. As Rinda said, they could do like those group sessions, like those yoga coaches or whatever the case may be, where they can have multiple people sign up for it. So this is a great scheduling app. But friends, make sure you set the expectation with your merchant that it's not a calendar that will allow to accept payments at the same time during booking the appointment. Albert, I see your hand is up, my man. You've always got good questions. Come off mute. What do you got, Albert?
All right. So with this appointment setter, I'm assuming obviously it's not related. Okay, so the appointment setting app does not accept payments. Is there a software fee or a SaaS fee associated with this setting appointment scheduler?
Yeah, great question. So we will charge $30 per user. So it's by user, not by software. So depending on how many users you have, that's will be the cost is 30 but for a user.
Now, I'm sorry. Now, okay, 30 per user. Now, this SwipeSimple appointment can integrate, or they have to have a separate mid or with the payments. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so it's not really connected by like to the mid, since you can have this as a standalone product.
So yeah, Albert, you would likely recommend SwipeSimple Payments for that other component.
So that's my thing. So SwipeSimple Appointments will be open under a new mid.
No, it's not even going to be. And I understand where you're going with this. And SwipeSimple Appointments is not going to be set up as a mid. It's going to be set up as more of an add-on, an ancillary product. So you can get out there and you can sell any one of the SwipeSimple Payments offerings to any one of your merchants. But if you identify a merchant that needs a scheduling app or something that can take their appointments, you can say, yeah, great. You know what? I can get you set up with that right now.
Got it.
Don't even
Understood.
don't even have to do any paperwork or anything that ties into a mid. We'll just get you a nice calendar so that you can get set up. And you know what? Since we've already got this set up, should we just jump right into the demo and just kind of give the overview?
Yes.
Since we got it up on the screen. Go ahead.
Amazing. So from here, I'll actually show you a sneak peek of like the calendar of what this is going to look like. So for this user, I only have one user, which is Megan. So you can see Megan's schedule here. But if you have multiple users, you can see from this drop down menu, you can see them all at once. If you look at the daily section as well, you can also set up the appointment types. So going back into what we were saying about like the one-to-one, this would be good for say like nail services or like a hair salon that's just doing one-to-one service with the stylist and then the customer or client. One-to-many would be more so of like that coaching, the trainers, personal training sessions as well, where you can book those classes and you can have multiple people sign up for a single session. And then many to one is really more so like you'll see the examples up here of like panel interviews, a conference call, or a workshop. So you do have some options to choose from when it comes to the appointment type, depending on what type of merchant that you're going after. And again, this is available. Your merchants that are in your existing book of your existing back book can also have this option too for SwipeSimple appointments.
Rinda, let me throw an example out here to you, just because earlier you said it's $30 per user, correct?
Correct.
Okay, now when you were showing like that little scenario where it says like Megan, and then there was like a list of other employees where they could, choose their own employee and everything else. If I'm understanding correctly, our agents could sell this to a merchant, set them up as one user. That one user manages their employees, so they're not incurring $30 per employee. Am I on the right track with that at all?
You could technically do that. So if you have someone that wants to save on cost, they don't want to have multiple users, you could set them up. There's a few workarounds where you can set that up for them. Say if you wanted to be able to, like under appointment types, you could write it as like someone's name. Like it could be like Amanda or Ashley or a specific agent. So if you want, you can technically do that. If you don't want that to have, if you don't want to be able to schedule on top of things, that's probably when you're going to want to add on additional users though.
And I wanted to make sure that we got in front of that because, sometimes we all do the math and go, well, gosh, if I talk to that salon down the street and they've got like 10 stylists at $30 a whack, that sounds expensive. But the way that we can set this up is the owner of the salon is the user. All of the stylists that work for them can be managed by the user themselves. So this way they can get their appointments set up. I mean, would you say
Yeah.
that's a fair way of presenting it?
Correct. And if you have a merchant that you're trying to go after and you're like, $30 per user is just too much, feel free to talk to Scott and John and the team. They can connect with us here at CardFlight. There are things that we can do to help with to mitigate those costs on a one-off case, especially if you have a merchant that you're really trying to win over as well. So definitely take that into consideration, especially if you are going after like a larger merchant type.
Yeah, and you just brought up a great point. I'm really glad that we have an opportunity to bring this up. So earlier, when we talked about that promotion where we're waiving those fees for the first couple of months, that was for payments. We're not waiving fees on appointments, correct?
Correct.
Okay. I'm trying to take care of y'all. I really am. I want to make sure that we get ahead of your questions here. So I'm sorry. Rinda, go ahead and you can just kind of continue on, my friend.
Yeah, so again, this is not going to, it's not going to feed right into SwipeSimple. If you're trying to take payments, you would still need a SwipeSimple application, or if you're using it on another product to be able to accept payments, that's also an option as well. And with that, let me see. I know that we already did the demo, but really, if there are any questions.
Well, actually, I think, why don't we jump over to that next slide because I believe we're actually going to show our audience how to access their own demos. Correct me if I'm wrong on that.
Correct.
Let's
Second
talk
slide.
about, let's go back to that roadmap. Oh my God. All right. We got to talk about, friends. Okay. If it seems like I'm messing with these two, you got to understand, I've known Rinda for a long time. She expects us every time that we do a webinar. She's a good sport. Wally, we're going to break him in, but he's doing okay today. But for as long as I've worked with SwipeSimple, like I said, you guys have been the thought leaders. I mean, let's talk about what's happened so far in 2025. So in Q1, the Bluetooth card reader improvements, editing invoices, the Fiserv Omaha certification. Here we are. We just wrapped up Q2. Surcharging on the SwipeSimple terminal, SwipeSimple appointments, tap to pay on iPhone. Rinda and Wally, why don't you guys talk about what's coming down the pike here in development, so our audience knows that when they come back to do a SwipeSimple Toolbox Tuesday, this is the stuff we're going to be talking about.
So the funny thing is that we've actually already fulfilled these, the automated invoice reminders and the AVS enforcement. This was released, I believe, sometime within the last 2 weeks that we were ahead of schedule on these two items. So what's really still in development on our side is the multi-factor authentication. Just again, really trying to make sure that merchants have the most secure product with SwipeSimple. So just continuing to really enhance those features too. And we'll continue adding on more enhancements to the invoices option for the rest of
And
the year.
as always, I'm always in constant contact with Wally and Rinda. So as new things do come about, everybody, I can promise you, you're going to see them back on another Toolbox Tuesday in the future. But I didn't mean to steal the thunder with how they can do the demos. Rinda, go ahead and kick it over to that next slide. Talk to our audience. What are we talking about when they can do demos?
Yes. So with the demo environments, your merchants are able to, you and your merchants are able to use our demo environments, one of them being our payment gateway, and then the second one being our mobile app. So if you have a merchant that just isn't sure, they haven't seen SwipeSimple already, and they want to be able to see the product and actually play around with it before they decide to go with you, you can show them the mobile app options and then also the gateway. But also speaking of demos, we actually did not do a demo of tap to pay. So it might actually be helpful for you all to see that since we had talked about that earlier on as well. So I'll actually move on over. And here is what the mobile app will look like. I know we're at 10 minutes to go, so I'll go ahead and take a quick $20 transaction. If you have items from your item catalog that you want to be able to use, I'll do a dry shampoo here. We'll see that start to add up. Discounts, I'll move this out of the way. So you want to be able to provide any discounts you can, and then we'll add in from our cart. So this is where things get really exciting for the checkout process. You have 3 different options from here. You can see that dual pricing is enabled. You can see there's the card prices and then the cash price. So if you're looking to do tap to pay on iPhone, this is where it's going to start. You'll continue on. It's going to scan. If it's looking for a card reader that you have, but I'm actually going to select tap to pay on iPhone because I don't have a card reader on me right now. So we're going to hold to pay here. Oh, hold card horizontally. There it is. And then you can add a tip. I know someone asked about the tip line earlier. So yes, we offer the ability to do tips and then also tips, dual pricing, and then tap to pay on iPhone. Oops. We can sign the signature on the receipt. And we'll save that as my information. I'm going to head back into the settings really quick, just so that way we can see where you actually set that up. So under the settings, there is a section down here for tap to pay on iPhone. And this is where your merchants will be able to enable it if they're using Fiserv Rapid Connect Nashville. Nice. And I think our Frank had a question.
Yeah, I was going to say, I see we've got a hand up. It looks like Arquisha Franklin. Arquisha, is that you? Come off mute. What do you got for us, friend?
Yes. So on the dual pricing, if they are currently using, if they're currently passing the cost on to their customers, will this automatically update on their phones for the dual pricing, or is it something they sign up for?
I think that would have to do with how your team sets it up when you submit your application, whether you want dual pricing enabled, correct?
Yeah.
But if I
Go
have a
ahead.
customer that's already passing the cost, is that something that I need to request to have turned on? Or is it automatically showing up with the update?
Okay, I think I understand the question. So, is it something where a merchant could enable on their own if they wanted to start offering dual pricing? Am I on the right track, Arquisha?
That's a good question. And also, if they're currently passing the cost on, because with SwipeSimple, they do have the ability to pass the cost on to their customers. But it does not show dual pricing as of, before we knew this was in place. Because right now it just adds the 3% to it or the 3.5% to it. So will this automatically show up with the update?
I think that might be a better question that we can take offline to see for your specific merchant.
All right. Arquisha, tell you what, I'm going to make a deal with you. After we wrap up today's Toolbox Tuesday, I'll give you a quick shout. Let's talk through that scenario, and I'll try to help you out on that one, and we'll see if we can get that set up for you, my friend. Promise you. All right. I do see that not a problem. Let's see, we got a few more questions that popped into the chat over here. Going back to appointments. Does appointments auto send email and or text reminders, or is that something that the merchant has to do manually?
That is something that the merchant can actually set up with the appointments, like under their settings, they can do that to automatically send like either the day before the appointment, but that's something that they'll have to set up on their end.
All right. We do have more questions that popped up in the chat. Does the price vary for the appointments program? Is there a variance as far as the cost goes?
Just depending on how many users that you have. So again, it will be $30 per user. If you have a merchant that you're going after with a larger amount of technicians that they'll need to cater to, just let us know. We can see what we can do to help and assist.
All right. And as far as the appointment option goes, is there any additional charge? Are we looking at just $30 a month? No other fees,
Correct.
nothing else? It's okay. Got that one out of the
Correct.
way.
$30 per user per month.
If a merchant is currently using Square right now, is there a way to migrate their customers, get them transferred over from Square over to Swipe?
Yes, so that would probably be a better question for your team at Pay Compass
Okay.
in terms of what those next steps would be for getting them transferred over.
All right. And to the agent that asked the question, Sean, if this is something that you want to look into, just get that question sent over to sales@paycompass.com. Somebody on the team will get back to you, and we'll see if we can do a migration on those existing customers. Okay, here's a good question. Since we're doing tap to pay, since it's a chip read transaction, can they turn off the ability to accept signatures?
Yes, so when you're in the account settings, or if you're in the actual application, there is an option where you can turn off the signature on here, right here.
All right, that was a really good question. Since you got your phone pulled up, is there an opportunity to show how the surcharging works? Or is your
So
account not set up for that?
yeah, I currently don't have surcharging on my terminal option enabled, so unfortunately I'm not able to show you that. But we do have some slides that we can send over for surcharging.
Okay. Got one of our agents helping out another agent. The question that was being asked earlier is, how would you switch over a non-cash adjustment customer over to dual pricing?
Got it. So with that one, if you have a merchant using a non-cash adjustment, meaning that there is an adjustment fee on the actual receipt, that would have to go through your team at Pay Compass to get them switched over. I believe that there would be additional paperwork and probably signage that your merchants would have to adhere to.
Got it. Any ideas of synchronizing the Appointment Setter app with the payments altogether as one solution in the future?
At this time, we don't have that on our roadmap right now to be able to synchronize both the appointment scheduler with having the payment piece, but it is something that we are looking into. But just no timeline yet for that.
Got it. All right, we've got a few minutes left. Audience, we love the sound of your voice. Come on, come off mute. What do you have for Wally and Rinda before we call it a day, friends? Come off mute and let's hear your questions. While waiting for the audience, I did have another question that popped
A
up.
comment, Scott?
Yeah. Can dual pricing be set up pre-tax? Was that the question you saw, Wally?
No, I seen one in there about the cost of dual pricing.
Okay, go ahead.
So it's $5.
Got it. All right, so the question, can dual pricing be set up pre-tax? Do we know? Yes, no,
So
maybe?
the way dual pricing works on our end is that we will apply the costs and the changes actually to the items or the quick items. So we do not apply that pricing to the tax. So the way this is working right now is, 1 second, I think I have $10. I'll clear this out. So it's essentially changing the price of that quick item to $5.20. If you had a $10 item, it would change it to $10.40 as well. So we're not, it's not changing the tax actually, the way that like the non-cash adjustment would change.
Got it. Question in the chat regarding appointments. Is there a way to set up a certain number of appointment slots at a certain time? So as an example, if they want to limit their class to just 5 students and nothing else.
Yes, so let's go into this yoga class example. There is the option where you can actually choose how many seats you want. So that you can do that on the website.
One thing I do want to point out, audience, everybody's asking about demos and everything else. You know what I just thought of? You know what I just thought of? We record these Toolbox Tuesdays every single time, and we put these Toolbox Tuesday sessions on YouTube for all the world to see. So friends, Rinda did that nice demo of Tap to Pay towards the very end of our call. So if you do have somebody that's interested, you can send them right to our YouTube channel. It's the Toolbox Tuesday with SwipeSimple that was held today. When that video gets released, our marketing team is going to let you know. And towards like the last 10 minutes of the recording, that's where all of your merchants can see that Tap to Pay in action, because Rinda was kind enough to do a demo of that. I'm going to open it back up to you, audience, one more time. Whatever questions you got, come off mute before we call it an end to a Toolbox Tuesday. Thank you, Sean. Appreciate it, my friend. Going once. Going twice. 2.5. All right, we got it to 3. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, thank you for joining Toolbox Tuesday. We love seeing you on these calls, and we're not done yet. We've got more sessions coming up for the month of July. But before we break, let's give a little bit of love to 2 special guests from SwipeSimple, Wally and Rinda. You two are amazing. I give you the heavy metal horns, and I say thank you so much for making the time to join us here today. As always,
Thank you.
it's a pleasure working with SwipeSimple. And to you, the audience, you know what's going to happen. Next week, we're going to do another Coffee with Closers, and then after that, we've got 2 more Toolbox Tuesdays that will be coming up in the month of July. As always, if you don't see those invites on your calendar, send a quick email, sales@paycompass.com. More than happy to get those invites on your calendar. Make it a great day. Stay heavy metal, rock on, and until we meet again, thank you everybody for making our sessions a success. Take care.